Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. The larch trees are looking really good in their fall colors. Let's go in and have a look at them. The needles have gone from their dark green color to a light green color, and then to yellow, and now finally to almost a straw color. In a few more days, the needles will start to fall off, and the tree will be bare for the winter. The needles are quite short on this tree because it was in a small pot. I just recently transferred it to a larger pot, so I expect the needle size to increase next year. As the roots have more room to grow, it'll gain more vigor and I'll get a longer needle size. My larch forest is also looking good in its fall colors. The colors in the larch forest range from quite a straw color in the back tree to a light yellowy green color, a darker green, back to the yellow colors in this front one, and some more of a straw-like color at the back here. Looks really good, getting all that variety in the forest. It's almost like going for a fall walk when you look at this forest. You can look up at the trees, hear the birds chirping, take a stroll down the pathways. Fly your drone up into the trees. Yeah, it's really nice seeing these fall colors. Very exciting. I've never tried a mixed planting where you have different species of trees in the same forest. And with the larch trees, I was thinking that it would be interesting to have larch trees amongst some evergreen trees like these cedars. So in fall, the larch trees turn their bright golden yellow and the cedars remain their green color. The larch trees would really stand out in the forest, and it would make a really interesting composition. Here's an update to my Douglas fir trees. The trees are looking really good, nice and green. I've seen no signs of decline or anything like that in them. So I think they're going to survive and, grow really well next summer. The maple trees in the backyard have lost pretty well all their leaves now. You can see them all on the ground here. And if we go way up in the sky here, you can see the maple tree, the big one in the backyard, is pretty well leafless. The one over by my plant room here, it's pretty well lost all its leaves. So that's good. I'll be getting some good sunlight coming in the plant room if we ever get sun. We got a little bit yesterday, but it's been pretty cloudy and rainy for the last couple of weeks. Let's get out of this rainy, nasty weather and head indoors and start today's work here in the Bonsai Zone. I'm inside now where it's nice and warm and humid, and it's a good thing because it started to snow outside. There's a view outside, lots of snow on the trees and the ground now. The trees I'll be working on today are my Acacia trees. Unlike some of my tropical trees, these trees are actually going dormant for the winter. All these trees were growing out on the bench in the full sun all summer, and when I brought them in for the winter, they started losing all their leaves. Here's a shot of the tip of one of the branches here on the Acacia, and you can see there's a little green spot that shows it's very much alive. With the trees dormant like this, it's a good time to prune the trees. You can see the structure of them clearly, and it'll help decide where to make the pruning cuts. I'll be styling these trees in their natural form that you would see in Africa, with the flat-topped canopies on them, and all the branches and leaves pruned out from underneath by the giraffes. So you get this very unique African style tree shape. I do plan to use these giraffes in the final penjing landscape that I'll be creating in a nice pot. So the underside of the canopy will be just out of reach of the giraffes. So it'll be somewhere around this level. And the top of the canopy will be probably just a little higher, about here. So all this top growth that's shooting up to the sky can all be pruned back, and then we'll get more branching at the canopy level. All the trees in this forest were started from seeds about 2.5 years ago. I create a playlist for all my trees, so if you go to the channel main page, click on the playlist tab, you'll find a playlist for Acacia bonsai from seeds, and you'll see all the videos up to the present day. One of my goals for this channel is to show the progression of trees from seeds, cuttings, nursery stock, and show the progression over the years. So 20 years from now, you'll be able to look back at the old videos and see how some of the bonsai were started. I'm going to start the pruning by just pruning off the tops. So I'll use my bypass pruners, and I'll just pick a height, so maybe about here, and start cutting. So here I go. So that's got the first tree pruned to size. When these trees started out as seeds, they only had one growing tip, and then every time you prune it, it starts getting more branching, and eventually you'll get a nice canopy. So the last tree I pruned had 1, 2, 3, 4 branches on it. This tree has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on it. So they're starting to get a little bit of density to the canopy. Not much yet, but it'll get there over the years. I'll continue to prune the forest. I do want the trees in the front to be a little higher than the ones in the back to give a bit of perspective. So I'll keep that in mind. Here's the height of my rear trees. So the front ones will be a little higher. So I'll go to here. You have to be very careful with these acacia trees. They have very, very sharp thorns on them. It's almost like pruning a rose bush or something. Yeah, even the cats agree. So you can do directional pruning. You can see the buds for the new branches all over the trunk here. So if you can pick a bud that's facing outwards from the center of the tree, you'll get a nice canopy that fans out, which is always good. So you can be selective with your pruning. I'm going to go quite high up here. So the forest is starting to get smaller. It's a little more of a manageable size. There's a big tall one here that can be pruned back. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to prune this one a little shorter here. It's a little tall. This one too. It's better to prune a little high at first and then, stand back, have a look at it. You can always prune them down shorter. That's not too bad a height. Maybe it's still a little high. I was hoping to get it kind of about here, so I'll take a little more off. I stepped back, had a good look at the forest, and I think the height is looking pretty good. It's nice and compact now. When these new shoots and branches come in, they'll be coming in at the right level. They won't be way up here, and I'll have to prune them off later, but they'll be nice, compact trees eventually. The acacia trees still have a few leaves on them, but it'll be very exciting to see them all grow in when they break their dormancy. I'm really pleased with my acacia forest. It's only 2.5 years old from seed, and the trunks are developing really nicely. Some of them are the thickness of my baby finger now. So I can't complain. I'm really happy. I'm glad I started an acacia forest from seeds. I'll give the forest a water, and then we'll put it back on the bench and get to today's updates. I've moved my 2 Ficus benjaminas in a better position so they're directly under the grow light, and it's really helping them. They're looking really green. I've got new growth starting on them. They're doing really well. In the past, my Ficus benjaminas always did very poorly in the winter. They would lose a lot of leaves and branches. They wouldn't grow. They would just barely survive until spring. In spring, I'd put them outside, and they would regain all their health and vigor and grow really nicely through the summer. And then in fall, I'd bring them back inside, and they would start to decline again. So I'm hoping with the LED lights this year that they'll keep their health through the winter, and in summer they'll just grow really, really well. Here's my Ficus root over temple. And you can see up in the canopy here, the canopy's looking really good. There's a lot of new growth coming in. Nice and healthy. And then my fusion ficus, or my Frankenficus. I just pruned it recently in a video, and there's all kinds of new buds coming out now. All kinds of new shoots and growth. So it looks like it's doing really well also. I'm just letting the top of my Ficus microcarpa from seed grow quite wild. It's got lots of vigor and it's putting out lots of aerial roots. That aerial root on my Ficus microcarpa has reached the ground now, and you can see it's growing along and among the moss. And it's not just one root now, it has, I don't know, a lot of little tiny feeder roots coming off and spreading across the surface of the moss here. There's a close-up of that root. You can see it kind of winds itself down from the aerial root here, comes down and winds around, and that'll be a great root someday. My crown of thorns bonsai has come back really well after a severe pruning. I didn't know how the crown of thorns was going to react to this severe pruning last time, but it's done really well. Every branch I pruned now has 2 or 3 new branches at the tips. So it's looking really good. I can't wait till it all fills out and gets a really nice dense crown. It's even developed a lot of new shoots on the old woody trunk. So it gives me lots of choices for future branches. I think it'll be very exciting watching this tree develop over the next few years to see what we can make of it. I think it has a lot of potential. My aloe vera bonsai is doing really well also. In the last video I talked about possibly removing these lower branches and just having the single trunk. And I don't think I can bring myself to do that. I really like this clump style aloe. So I think I'll just keep it growing as a clump style and try and develop, you know, a nice canopy on top. Here's an update on my guava tree seedlings. They're growing really well. They grow tall and I cut them back. They grow again and I cut them back. So I'm keeping them. They've got nice movement in the trunks. Maybe this summer I'll get time and I'll put them in individual pots. Let's check in on my larger guava bonsai now. Here's my guava tree. It's developing really nicely. It's had 2 severe root prunings. It's had, I think, 2 top prunings. So it looks tall and skinny now, but over the years it'll fatten up and become a nice medium to large size bonsai. Here's an update of my tamarind tree. I started this tree from a seed last winter. I planted, I think, about 150 seeds, and I only got 1 sprout, so it's 1 of 150. At our club's fall bonsai show this year, Noah, who was in a video where we did a tour of his greenhouse, he gave me another tamarind seedling that he grew from seed. So I've got 2, so I can play around with 2 different style trees now. I will be repotting these 2 trees for the first time this winter, so it'll be interesting to see what the roots are like, and we'll try and get them on track to get a nice radial root base. A couple of years ago, Mandy from Australia sent me some desert ash seeds in the mail, and I planted them, and they've grown really well. These trees seem to have their seasons reversed. They sat dormant the entire summer with no new growth, and then when I brought them in fall, they started sprouting all kinds of new leaves. The trunks on these trees have grown quite crazy, kind of cascading, and then a new shoot grows up, and yeah, a little strange looking at the moment, but when I go to repot these this winter, we'll try and get some top styling. We'll probably just cut them off and start growing a new structure to them. These desert ash trees can make a really good bonsai. They get a really nice rough bark on them, and you can get a really nice canopy. My last update for today is my new avocado tree. This tree was started from a seed this spring, so it's only had about 6 months of growing. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me here in the Bonsai Zone.